Welcome back to the Big Fella Podcast. Today, we have a fun episode. We are talking about the video games that changed my life. Welcome. If you're new here, I'm your host, Noah Tanner. I lost 110 pounds back in 2020, kept it off for 5 years, and now I run the Big Fella brand. You are seeing the Big Fella brand YouTube channel where we help big guys just talk about making their lives better. We help them lose weight, we help them build confidence, and we talk about some of the fun stuff like we do here today. The video games that shaped my life. All right, I'm 24 years old. I was born in 2001. So you're going to be seeing a lot of Xbox 360. You're going to be seeing a lot of PS4. Okay, my family was too broke to afford a PC, so we didn't have a PC till my late teenager years. But we got some PC games in here too. It's going to be a great time. I'm excited to hear what you guys has shaped your guys' lives. And as an honorable mention to get us started, I'm going to say Skyrim. And that's not just because my honey bunny just walked in to the kitchen a few feet away from me. But fun fact for those of you that don't know, Ashley and I, my girlfriend of 6 years who's lived with me for 5, met over a Skyrim joke on a dating app. It was a Skyrim joke. And obviously that changed my life forever. So I got her through Skyrim in. Fun fact though, I actually haven't beaten Skyrim, and I feel like a poser for saying that. I feel like a disgrace. I know pretty much everything about Skyrim. I'm a huge fantasy nerd. I watch a ton of lore videos, but I never actually went through, sat down, and beat it start to finish. But that's neither here nor there. Let's dive into some of my personal favorites, the games that I put in hours upon hours upon hours into, especially since I was younger, and what I would rank as some of the best. Number one, probably one of the most influential games in my entire life, Call of Duty Black Ops 2. Yes, you guys were all expecting this one. If anyone knows me at least a little bit, I spent probably 2 or 3 years of my life, no Wi-Fi, playing it with my stepbrother. Shout out Jared at the time. And we would just be offline playing bots or offline playing zombies. Transit, zombies. The campaign was excellent. I was absolutely dirty with the ballista. You can 1v1 me on that ballista on any map. I will smoke you. Okay, ballista over DSR every day of the week is just one of the best shooters ever made. You can fight me all you want. Okay, it's COD then, so much better than COD now. I don't. That's a very lukewarm take. Everybody agrees with that one, but just had to be said. Halo 3 and Halo Reach as well. I could talk about Halo Reach probably forever. Halo Reach is probably one of the best story games I've ever played, if not the best story game I've ever played. Incredible, incredible game. Halo 3 as well. What I would do on Halo 3 is I would just drive around in those Warthogs. That's the biggest thing I remember. I would drive around in the Warthogs and try to save as many Marines as I could. Because I remember, obviously, I wanted to be Master Chief as a kid, but I also wanted to be one of those Marines in the Halo universe. I just thought that was like the coolest thing ever. And so driving around in those Warthogs and those story missions was so cool. Again, I didn't really have Xbox Live. I didn't have, we couldn't afford it. So I was playing a lot of this, a lot of my experience growing up as a kid was playing stuff offline. So I still got to use a little bit of my imagination and obviously play a significant amount outside. I touched a lot of grass as a kid, believe it or not. So for all you young parents out there, make sure your kids touch some grass. Don't turn them into doom scrollers, because good lord. Uh, Next game, NCAA 14 and the early NCAA games. Okay, I know NCAA 25 and 26 both just came out recently. I actually just played some 25 for the first time in a while. I deleted it. I was a little unimpressed. Like I liked it. It was good for what it was, but nothing is gonna beat that triple option West Virginia offense on NCAA 14, where the quarterback and the running back were both a star. I would play those drills. Oregon also did the same thing. I would do dynasties. I grew up playing football games, man. I grew up playing those football games. They were some of they were by far my favorite sports games ever. I had a fun little 2K run, but then they just have some weird thing where they want to make every game progressively worse for some reason. Never got into NHL or MLB the Show or anything like that. But I remember one of my first ever video game memories was playing the old like NCAA 07, NCAA 10 with my dad. And I was a little shit kicker kid, dude. I would just Hail Mary every single play and get super pissed off when it got intercepted. And my dad would just laugh because I would want to throw the controller at the wall. Like, why is my pass is getting intercepted and I'm down 49-6? Probably because you're playing Hail Mary and spamming circle on the PS2 every single time you snap the ball. Anyway, those are some of my probably some of the core tenets of my childhood. As I got a little bit older, though, my game taste shifted a little bit. I was interested in a lot of online PC games that I still couldn't have access to. I'm probably in like middle school, early high school by this time. Battlefield 4. Battlefield 4 was my whole life from 7th to 8th grade. I played so much Battlefield 4 by myself. I barely hung out with friends. Talk about touching grass. I touched very minimal grass that summer. That summer was different. The summer of 7th grade to 8th grade, I don't remember what year. That is almost the only thing I did for the entire year was play Battlefield 4 by myself, no team. I had just gotten a PS4. I had nobody to friend at the time. I have now made some of my best friends for life that live locally, but we met initially through PS4. This was before them, right? This was before I played Destiny with them. This was before I played pretty much any online game with anybody. I played with one friend occasionally, but it was mostly all solo. Siege of Shanghai, dude. I was eating up all of that Levolution propaganda, dude. That game was next level, next level. I promise that this I'm gonna list off a couple more with some incoherent memory rants, and then I'm gonna kind of shape all of this into what these games did to shape me as a person. Because I do have a couple things to say on that. As I got older and my taste changed a bit, I got more into some deeper fantasy stuff and some more historical titles. So Dragon Age Inquisition. This is a real ball knowledge game here. Okay, if you like Skyrim and if you like the Mass Effect franchise, Mass Effect was a great game trilogy, by the way. Nothing has ever came out after Mass Effect 3. It's a real shame that there was never a sequel to Mass Effect 3 ever. Okay. Dragon Age Inquisition, though, the newest Dragon Age Veilguard, looks like it's a big old pile of poop, unfortunately. But Inquisition was this really awesome blend of really unique world building. It was slow if you wanted it to be slow. It was fast if you wanted it to be fast. I thoroughly enjoyed Dragon Age Inquisition. It was one of the most immersive gaming experiences I think I've ever had. And that was one of the first games where I felt like I actually got transported into a different world. There was diplomacy, there's betrayal, there's magic, there's fantasy, there's wars, there's politics, there's different endings. It was just so cool. That game really helped me develop as a nerd. And it's one of the things that made me be proud to be a nerd because there's some really cool shit in in writing and world building. It had some flaws, of course, but it was a really fun game for when I picked it up. And then one of my most favorite secret hidden obsessions for years and years and years and years and years was the Total War franchise. Now, for those of you that don't know, Total War is an online strategy game, grand strategy, historical games mostly, and they make period piece games over different times in history where you can command an army and be a general over. Specifically, the one that I really drank the Kool-Aid on first was Rome. It was Rome 2 Total War. It came out, I think, in 2015, 2014, something like that. When I saw that I could have 20 boats full of 200 soldiers each and just land them on the beaches of a castle and then ascend that castle with siege towers and have catapults, I was hooked. I was sold. I'm like, are you kidding me? This is the coolest thing in the world. And then they had other game. They had Shogun 2 Total War in Japan. They had Medieval 2 Total War, Empire Total War, Napoleon Total War. I have all of these games on my Steam account now. These were all the games that I spent being a YouTube kid, being an iPad kid. You know, when I was in middle school and I wasn't playing games, I was usually watching videos on games at nighttime before I was going to bed or when I was eating dinner. I was watching gameplay on all the games that we couldn't afford because I was too young to work, and we were just lower middle class family, and didn't have money for a fucking full blown PC at the time. So that was a big one for me. The whole Total War franchise, you can just get lost, and I've got a lot of hours sunk into those games over the past decade. I don't play them as much anymore, but when I get a free Saturday, when I get a free Sunday, and I don't have any plans, so every once in a while I'll crack one of those bad boys open, and it's great. So now that we've kind of outed a lot of my Oh, Red Dead Redemption 2 definitely deserves a mention as well. That game is awesome. That was probably the last single player game I went through start to finish and felt like, holy shit. So, Red Dead Redemption 2. I finished that a month before I met Ashley. And then I spent all my time talking to this random girl from Florida on the internet. And now she lives with me. Crazy how that works. Now that this has been a completely messy, incoherent rant of all of my favorite video games, I want to talk a little bit more about how it kind of shaped me. How it shaped me. So I made a video about this a couple months ago on TikTok, and it still gets a lot of views and comments on it. Where I talk about there's a generation of younger men in their current early to mid to late 20s who were raised thinking they were Master Chief, who were raised playing Call of Duty, trying to be like Ghost Riley and trying to kill Shepard in the Call of Duty Modern Warfare 2 campaign. There were people that grew up watching 300. I am the biggest Lord of the Rings nerd you will ever meet. And I grew up watching the Ride of the Rohirrim. I grew up watching the Siege of Minas Tirith and the Siege of Helm's Deep. What are the common denominators of all of this? There's a selfless hero that puts himself on the line to try to make the world a better place against evil. It's a very cliche story, and there's obviously some of those stories have different elements that kind of make it a little bit more nuanced. But when you're a kid, you don't care for nuance. You want big guns, big explosions. You want to be the good guy saving the civilians to make the world a better place at the end of the day. And I don't think that that's a bad thing. I think we have too little of that now, honestly. Everyone's trying to do something new. And not to say that we shouldn't do something new, but most of the shit that we have in media nowadays is just a rehashing of the stuff that used to work. That's why there's no soul in anything anymore. That's why the Dune franchise was so successful in the movies recently, because it was a new adaptation of something that most people in our generation hadn't seen. If you haven't seen the Dune movies, I would highly recommend it. It is lore rich. It is beautiful. It is one of the cinematically just a phenomenal film. The music is great. Oh, don't get me started on Dune. I could talk a whole bunch about movies too. I could probably make another one. But the way so much of these storylines have engineered my life as a man, as a young man, as a child, as a boy, I feel I felt this need to want to like die on a field of battle with arrows in my chest, like a final stand defending my loved ones, like Leonidas in 300. And I there's a lot of really, really fascinating commentary about this specific topic on YouTube by people that are smarter than me and have more time to dive into that topic than I do. I'm gonna be honest, I'm just kind of riffing right now. But I wanted to feel useful, and I wanted to be strong, and I wanted to do good. And in my favorite pieces of media, that's what you did. That was the highest form of sacrifice. What's the highest form of sacrifice you could give to someone than to give your life, right? And I feel like there's a lot of pushback on that narrative nowadays to say like, oh, you don't need to die, you don't need to waste your life to feel useful, you don't need to, that's the only way that you can feel something of positive, that's the only way you can feel positively about yourself is if you're dying for someone else. There's a lot of very valid pushback on it. But my take, and this might come off as naive, and so be it, I don't think that the desire is necessarily bad, as so long as you have a handle on how to help people without doing that, right? um, I found a lot of the guys who grew up playing a lot of the games that I did end up being people pleasers. Funny enough, they end up trying to be a good person, they end up trying to be empathetic, but when they realize that they're not Master Chief, when they realize they're not Leonidas, when they're not Anakin Skywalker or Obi-Wan. How did I not mention any Star Wars games earlier? Anyway, Battlefront 2. Star Wars Battlefront 2. Okay, back to my point. If you can train yourself to lower these expectations of perfection, I think that's the bigger issue. We are the characters that we are playing in these games are meant to be heroic. They're meant to be perfect because they're fucking characters. Master Chief doesn't say a word in most of the dialogue in the good Halo games because it's supposed to be you. But Master Chief never talks about the stress of providing for his loved ones. Master Chief never talks about going on a bad date. Master Chief never talks about, oh, my car just broke down, right? So what it leaves us with is, and it's not these video games' responsibility to teach us how to be a man, obviously, right? But we have these desires to be sacrificial. We have this desire to give in the highest way possible because that's what we were taught by our media. Is that's the way to be beneficial is to sacrifice everything, right? And I think the desire is not bad. I think the desire to, jokingly die on a field of battle surrounded by people that you love or defending the people that you love is not an inherently negative desire. What is negative, though, is feeling that that's the only way you have utility in this life. I feel like that's the biggest problem. I'm really trying to piece them together here, guys. My brain is still a little mushy from the sinus thing. So thank you for bearing with me, and hopefully I don't sound too nasally. But I'm imperfect. I'm wildly imperfect. I have so many flaws we can make a whole episode about it. But when I started giving myself grace, when I started seeing progress in the stuff that I wanted to see progress in, when I started seeing progress in my body, in my muscle, in losing my fat, in building my bank accounts and investing in my assets, into being a better boyfriend, into being a better friend. When I saw progression in my life, in the places where I saw meaning and I was putting real energy into it, it allowed me to, it was weird because I kind of felt like those characters. I was like, fuck yeah, I'm doing this totally what, XYZ character would do. But also, it allowed me to give myself a little bit more grace, right? It allowed me to not expect this perfection out of myself. And I feel like that's something that so many young boys overlook when they play those games when they're younger is the amount of struggle that the character has to go through to get the payoff at the end. And that's why I really like Reach so much, Halo Reach, because it shows the struggle. Like there's real loss and you watch your friends effectively die one by one. These characters you come to love die one by one in front of you into something that ultimately can feel futile. There's a lot of sacrifice there. And I feel like this desire to be a superhero effectively, right? Anime does this in the same way, right? Like look at All Might from My Hero Academia. Look at Tanjiro from Demon Slayer. Look at what's his face from Solo Leveling. There's a lot of character. I mean, all anime, all basic, shonen anime is like that as well. You can be a hero, and you can want good for other people, and you can want to sacrifice everything for others, but the only way to do that and live a life, a hero's life, is by giving yourself grace first. Now, giving yourself grace and making excuses for yourself are not the same thing. Giving yourself grace effectively means not expecting perfection from day one. Because the whole point that so many of us are missing is the training, is the art of the struggle that they were at beforehand, right? Every basic shonen anime, every basic TV show that we watch for most of the characters, they go through a huge struggle at the beginning. They're fighting, like who does Batman lose? His fucking parents. He goes through struggle at the beginning and he overcomes it and then becomes the vigilante that he becomes. But so many of us want to just glaze over that and only look at the heroic shit at the end. You don't get the heroic shit at the end without the sacrifice and the struggle at the beginning. And it's these internal dialogues that they're having to where they realize they are not perfect, where they realize, I can't save everybody. That's when stuff gets real, and that's when it can feel, that's when you can really be who you are. That's when you can actually be the hero that you want to be. So I'm gonna say it. It's gonna sound really naive. Go fucking be a superhero. The world needs them. Go be an All Might. Go be a symbol of hope. Go be Superman, right? But the only way that you can do that is understanding the work and the struggle and the grace that they have to give themselves. You can't expect perfection out of yourself. You don't have any superhuman abilities, but you can do superhuman things. If you have the self awareness to know what you're good at, the self awareness to know what you're good at, the team behind you to support you, and not having a need for perfection. You don't need to die in a field of battle to be a real to give a real life impact. I feel like a hero every time I'm able to buy something for Ashley. I just bought Ashley new shoes yesterday. I felt like a superhero. I felt like a superhero every time I played catch with my little neighbor. Because it's those little things that combine. There's not a Covenant warship flying into my city right now. But there's people that could use a shoulder to cry on. There's people that could use a hand to help. And there's people that could use an ear to listen. So that's what I'm gonna do. Just be the change you want to see in the world. But it can only happen with brutally understanding yourself and understanding that you will not be perfect. And that there's going to be people in your lives that feel like superheroes. And that's okay. They're there for you for a reason. All right. That's my thoughts on how my video games shaped me as a person and kind of who it turned me into today. I think there's a lot of perks to being a nerd. I think being a nerd makes you a kinder person. I really do. I think if you like fantasy, if you like sci-fi, if you like games, if you like movies, I think if you consumed a lot of fiction as a kid, or you like going off to these other worlds in whatever case, I think it does make you a better person, because I think it shows that you understand empathy. And I think it shows that you understand the real shit in nuanced ways. A lot of these self-help books like 48 Laws of Power, or some of these other ones are helpful in times because they spell out concepts in a certain way, but you're going to learn a hell of a lot more through storytelling. And when you can learn a lesson through a character that you feel that you can resonate with, I think that's going to stick with you a lot longer than just reading a book from philosophy. And that's me saying that as somebody who loves reading philosophy books. So I don't know, just kind of a change in my perspective recently. So happy Thanksgiving if you're watching this. It is November 9th as I record this. I hope you guys all have a wonderful day. I'm going to post a good balance of weight loss stuff and personal stuff on here, but I've never really posted a lot of this. I had a hard time posting shit like this sometimes, I posted on social media for the last 4 years, and I rarely ever talk about like my personal interests, just because I feel like for a long time I had this stupid feeling that I don't know. I don't even know what I was afraid of. I guess I was afraid of judgment. So don't be. I like talking to you guys about this. And if you're looking for someone to help guide you through some of the arduous journeys of building healthy habits and becoming a better person and losing weight and being able to help other ones around you, check the links in my description. And I'll talk to you guys next time. Peace and love. Keep it simple, big fella. I love you to death.